Hi, Jonathan Bednar here, Certified Financial Planner. I'm going to talk to you about Roth conversions and what you need to know to determine if a Roth conversion is right for you. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to do some doodling to help explain that. So the first thing I want to make sure I write down is Roth conversions. Now, there is a couple of different things that you should be aware of when determining if a Roth conversion makes sense for you. The first, liquidity. This is important because you need to make sure that, number one, you've got money set aside so that you can use it for the emergency fund. That is the primary building block for your financial plan, for your financial foundation, so that you have money where you can access it if an emergency pops up. But the second reason that liquidity is important when you're doing a Roth conversion is when you convert from an IRA into a Roth, that is a taxable event, excluding a backdoor Roth conversion. We're just talking about a regular Roth conversion today. So that would be a taxable event to move or convert your pre-tax money in the IRA. We'll call this the IRA, and we want to do a conversion into the Roth. So when we do that is a taxable event, and that creates a tax liability that you're going to have to pay when it comes time to file and pay your taxes. So the first thing we want to talk about is that liquidity. The second thing that I think is important is your income. Your income is going to be a primary driver for determining what your tax liability is. And when you're trying to evaluate what that tax liability is, plugging in your income to get a base tax figure or using your prior year income, if that's going to be relatively the same, you can see what your tax bracket is. And that's going to be a great place to start to determine what is the tax liability going to be on the Roth conversion. So your income would be the second thing to be aware of when you're evaluating this. The third we'll call tax implications. This goes hand in hand with what we just talked around on income and the conversion that we talked about here from the IRA to the Roth. That's a taxable event. So when we're talking about tax implications, your taxable income plus your conversion amount, that will create kind of a total income amount that creates what will be your tax liability. And when you get ready to file your taxes, and either you do your taxes or your CPA, whoever does your taxes, will generate a liability or an estimated amount that you need to pay in order to satisfy your tax liability. So these obviously go hand in hand, and that's why it's important to understand how these work together, because it can be really, really important. You don't want to most of the time run into a higher tax bracket. So as an example, if you're in the 22% tax bracket and you do a Roth conversion, the goal might be to fill up the 22% tax bracket. It might even be okay to go to the 24% tax bracket. What you don't want to do is jump into a higher tax bracket by converting this, and now you're creating more tax liability. So it's important to kind of fill these buckets up when you're making the decision. This is where financial advisors and financial planners can really help guide you in determining how much should you convert, what's the right amount, when should you do it, should you break these conversions into a couple of years, and ultimately how you're going to pay the tax liability that's going to come due when we come back to the initial conversion up here at the top. The final thing that I think is important to consider is the 5-year rule. The 5-year rule is a rule that helps determine the growth of the Roth IRA as a tax-free growth. So in order to get the full tax-free benefits of a Roth IRA, you want to make sure that those contributions, those conversions satisfy a 5-year holding period inside that Roth IRA. When you do that and you achieve the age 59 and a half, holding the money 5 years and achieving that age provides the money to be withdrawn tax-free to your benefit. So these are the 4 things that I think are vitally important as you're determining, does it make sense to do a Roth conversion? If you need help with this, and again, these can get really complicated. I'm giving you kind of high-level figures, but there's a lot that goes into these strategies to determine, should you do it? Does it make sense for you? If you need help with that, reach out. We're happy to help. Be confident in your retirement. Have a wonderful day.